Would you like to give the Thursday night prediction?
Oh, you would like me to go first?
I'd put a star next to it. I deliberately let you talk about this game because I want to hear your opinion. So go on. Tell the people about the Giants first.
Well, we have the New York Football Giants taking on the San Francisco 49ers, whose fan base is not a big fan of me and probably wants to see me burn. But when it comes to this game, without Saquon Barkley, I don't see a path to victory.
Correct!
On to a game which will be a bit more competitive. The Falcons, who are very good defensively, headed on up to Detroit to take on the Lions. And good offense taking on a good defense, bad offense taking on a bad defense. Should be a fairly interesting game. I'm going to say the Lions win this one just because they got so many receivers who can hurt you. Laporta's been very good. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get a much bigger workload. Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously elite. And Goff is clearly the better quarterback. So comparably talented teams. I will always side with the one with the better QB and probably the better coaching staff. So I'm saying Detroit wins this one.
I'm picking Detroit to win this one too. They're at home, so the Lions always play much better when they're at home versus when they're away. Jared Goff plays much better in a dome versus outdoors when you look at the numbers. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's been cooking. Josh Reynolds now has been very good opposite him. And the absence of Jameson Williams. Sam Laporta has come on. Defense, not great against the Seahawks, but the Falcons don't really like to air it out that much. I'm picking the Lions as well. Next, we got the Chargers taking on Minnesota.
Points will be scored this game.
Safe to say. You have the Chargers, whose rushing attack, I don't know if Eckler will be playing, but regardless, their rushing attack has been very solid through 2 weeks. The Vikings don't have much of a rush defense. They don't have much of a defense at all, much like the Chargers. So this game will probably be, 50-40. We may break records with the receivers we have on each team and the quarterbacks we have on each team.
Well, the Vikings secondary is not that bad. Let's be serious here.
Now, for the sake of helping Isaiah and his, sanity, I'm going to predict the Chargers to win because if I am, I get to make fun of him. And if I'm wrong, then I can say I jinxed the Vikings into winning, and he has to thank me. So I'm going with the Chargers in this one.
I know you actually do believe the Chargers will win, which is the best thing you possibly could do because you're so consistently wrong on this show. The kiss of death, as you said in the earlier segment. Now Vikings going to the Super Bowl. On to the Packers, who will be hosting the New Orleans Saints. And I know the Saints are undefeated, but God, they look terrible, man. Their offense ain't doing nothing. Carr, mid. Olave, kind of mid. Mike Thomas, super mid. Their running game, they let Taysom Hill get as many carries as Jamal Williams against the Panthers last evening. That stinks. Say what you want about Love not being as good in week 2 as he was week 1, he is still going to get after it. And if Aaron Jones and Christian Watson are back in the lineup, they're going to barbecue the Saints. The Packers are winning this one.
The Saints are horrifically average to below average. The Falcons. The Packers are looking up on the offensive side of the ball with Love. So I'm also picking the Packers. Next, we have Houston versus Jacksonville. And Houston's a very young team. They still have a bunch of holes on their roster. Jacksonville versus the Chiefs last week did look rough, but they also had about 4 passes in the end zone where the receiver barely couldn't get their feet down. If that starts to happen, much different game. I think the talent disparity is drastic here. I think if the Jaguars lose, I'll be shocked, but I'm picking them to win.
I'm supremely unmoved by CJ Stroud, so I'll also take the Jaguars. Now, the Denver Broncos head on down to Miami, and this is an interesting one because if the Broncos defense can get back into form and play well, I think they might have a shot at winning this one against that weak Dolphins defense. We saw Russ cook this week, could conceivably cook some more, but I also have a lot of confidence that young Tua Tagovailoa will continue to be that guy with Tyreek Hill, with Waddle, with Mostert. So I'm going to say the Dolphins win this one, outpower that good defense. Russ comes back down to earth a little bit from last week, and the Dolphins start their season 3-0, number 1 in the AFC East.
Well, if Russ tries to cook, you're not getting in a shootout you don't want to get in a shootout or a track meet with that Dolphins offense. They have receiving weapons all over the field with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Raheem Mostert can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. They have other, fast running backs. Their offensive line has been great in the run game. The Dolphins are just the better, more consistent, and put together team at this point. They are functioning like a well-oiled machine. They should win that game relatively easily. Now we have the Titans and the Cleveland Browns. And this game is easy to predict because one team still has their identity. The Browns lost their identity, like we talked about in the episode earlier this week. The Browns are without Nick Chubb. He's the heart and soul of that offense. The Titans have Derrick Henry. He's still healthy at this point of the season. The Titans defense is always solid. Mike Vrabel always has them ready to play, so the Titans should win.
Oh, the Browns lost their identity. What, they lose their driver's license at a bar earlier in the week? That is a unique analysis. But yeah, I'll say Titans. But if Watson were ever to have a bounce-back game, it'd be against the Titans. He is a phenomenal passer when playing horrible defenses. On to the Commanders hosting the Bills. A better game than I think many of us expected at this point in the year. Both these teams, 1 win, 1 loss. Commanders, very good performance against the Broncos, 35 points. I'm going to say the Bills get this one just because Josh Allen has got his stinker of the month out of his system already. He's going to keep playing at that elite level, running well, passing well. Better than Sam Howell, better weapons than Sam Howell, comparable defense. I'm giving this one to Buffalo.
For the sake of being a contrarian, I'd pick the Commanders here, and I think there's an argument you can make for the Commanders. Averaging 27 points a game so far with Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy, so I think their offense is looking up. Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson have been doing their thing in the rushing attack. The receivers have been doing a solid job. Sam Howell's been getting a job done. Their defense, like you said, been pretty good. So for the sake of it, I'm picking the Commanders just in case on the off chance I'm right. You know, maybe it's...
We don't go back and check these record predictions, so...
We don't, but if I'm right, I'm going to rub it in. Next up, we have, who's that? Baltimore versus...
Indianapolis.
And Anthony Richardson has a concussion, or he at least entered concussion protocol the last I've seen updated. So I don't know if he's going to play this week versus Baltimore. And if he's not playing, I don't think they stand much of a chance at Baltimore. I think Baltimore is better at basically every single position, so I'm picking the Ravens.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter if he played or not. Like, we don't need to go into an in-depth analysis on this one. Over on in the AFC East, we've got the Jets hosting the Patriots. And I'm inclined to say Mac Jones wins this one. Certainly will win the QB battle just because Zach Wilson is going up against that Bill Belichick defense. We all know what he does to young quarterbacks, but Mac's played pretty well. Despite being saddled with 2 6-foot running backs who can't catch passes and run power all the time, he is making plays happen. More than you can say for Zach Wilson. Defenses are comparable. Jets is probably a little bit better, but I'll give this one to the Pats.
Yeah, the Pats offense has looked better than it did last year. The Jets defense is the Jets defense, but the Pats offense is still the Pats offense. And Zach Wilson against the Pats defense is not a fun thing to watch, so I'm also going to pick the Patriots. We have the Panthers headed to Seattle. The Panthers are not a good team right now. They're missing they don't have any weapons on the offensive side of the ball. When your best receiving threat is Hayden Hurst and Adam Thielen at this point in Adam Thielen's career, that's not a good sign for you. The offensive line play has been a little bit lackluster up to this point. Seattle's offense finally got things turned around last week against that Lions defense.
Finally after 2 weeks.
Finally after the first week, they got things turned around. Whatever. I'm picking the Seahawks to win.
Yeah, Seahawks got this one. Bryce Young is his team's best running back, which is saying something considering he's not a particularly athletic quarterback. Speaking of athletic quarterbacks, Chiefs are hosting the Bears, and you don't need me to tell you who's going to win this game. The question is, do the Chiefs boat race them, get out to a 30-0 lead, and put the backups in? I'm inclined to say yes. I think they're going to cook them, barbecue them, crisp them up a little bit, then eat them in front of the crowd. Chiefs slaughter the Bears here.
I agree. There's not much to say about a Chiefs-Bears matchup. Anyway, we have the Cowboys-Cardinals. Not much to say. We saw what the Cowboys did to the Giants, and the Giants found a way to beat the Cardinals. So I know it's not you can't make a direct comparison in the NFL, but it's the Cardinals, one of the worst rosters in the NFL, versus that Cowboys defense. There's not much I need to say. The Cowboys are winning.
Yeah, the question is 40-0 or not. I'm going to say not. They perform better than the Giants. Then again, not hard to do that. Next, Steelers headed on over to play the Raiders. I'm going to give this one to the Steelers. Better defense. Better running backs for the first 2 weeks, which is odd considering the Raiders have Josh Jacobs, who put up -2 yards on 9 carries against the Bills. That's dreadful. And I think the Steelers will be able to move the ball just enough to get past old Jimmy G. Maybe we see Aiden O'Connell this game. That'd be a pleasant surprise. But I'll say Steelers.
I think the Raiders win this one. The Steelers' offense has still been horrific. They scored, was it one offensive touchdown against Well, one of their offensive touchdowns was a 64-yard play, I believe, to George Pickens. And then they have a pick six, and I think they had 7 offensive yards in the fourth quarter or something to the tune of that. The Raiders at least have some pieces that make you think they can move the ball. Granted, the Steelers' defense is elite. It is phenomenal. I'm just feeling good. I feel better about the Raiders' offense in this one than I do the Steelers.
That'd be a really good matchup if it were 30 years in the past. All-time, legacy-defining, classic rivalry. And now it's between two 7-win teams.
We have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Buccaneers, and I am going to pick an upset in this one. You have Baker Mayfield. You have Mike Evans. They have been cooking. Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield have been a special connection. That defense has been great through 2 weeks. I think we always know the Buccaneers defense is going to be solid. We didn't think it returned to this form through 2 weeks of the season. I think it's going to be cooking against the Vikings. It's going to get a couple stops, and we're going to see Baker Mayfield drive down there with Mike Evans a couple times, score some points, and I think they get an upset in week 3.
Good for you being controversial. I mean, you're wrong, but I respect you trying to be different. Good on you on that one. Then we've got the Super Bowl rematch between the Rams and the Bengals. And the Bengals, Joe Burrow still hurt. I think they should bench him. Even if they don't, Aaron Donald is going to get active against that Bengals offensive line. So they're not doing much offensively. Rams, Puka Nacua, playing very well. Same with Tutu Atwell. Even if Stafford is not on point, throwing 2 interceptions again, which he won't against that much worse Bengals defense, they're getting the W here. They can't stop that Rams offense.
Yeah, the Rams offense, pleasant surprise from what we expected based off their personnel prior to the season. Puka Nacua, what do you have, 15 targets, like 12 catches or something last week? Tutu Atwell has been very good. Kyron Williams has been very good. Something I do want to point out is that I've always said Cam Akers isn't the answer, and it sounds like he's not going to be on the team very soon, or he's at least does not have close to a significant role in that offense. So I'm also going to pick the Rams here, especially if Joe Burrow is out of the game due to his calf injury.
You know, you really flapped your gums on my picks this week. I want you to know that. You were chatting it up. Like, we're supposed to do like a short, brief rebuttal response. You're giving these long arguments, these deep thoughts, which is a rare occurrence for you, but still.
I mean, the people want to hear.
No, they don't. All right, that's the end of the episode.